If you didn't have a chance to view part 1 of our IGTV tips for creating Instagram Reels, definitely do yourself a favor and go back and do so, because there is a ton of valuable information in there. It is a 7-minute step-by-step tutorial for beginners walking you through how to create your first Instagram Reel. Now this part 2 will be focused on even more tips for you to keep in mind while you're creating Reels. I'll even do another step-by-step tutorial to show you a fun and easy transition that you can do on your own. Okay, the first thing I'm going to point out is that I need you to be dramatic, like as dramatic as possible. In fact, the more dramatic the better, because the more dramatic you are, it makes for a much more entertaining reel. And you might feel silly in the process of creating it, but you're only going to make yourself laugh and you're going to have fun in the process of doing so. The second thing I'm going to point out is that I need you to look at the camera, not at yourself, but at the camera. This is me looking at myself and talking to myself, and this is me looking at the camera. When I look at the camera, I'm much more engaged with my audience, and my audience feels like I am speaking to them. All right, now we're on Instagram, and specifically we are on the Reels tab. Go back to view part 1 for a full breakdown of what these controls are and how you can use them. Right now I'm going to talk about the audio in particular, and I'm going to go over to our Reels tab to do so. Okay, as I said in the previous video, if you are scrolling through the Reels feed and you happen to stumble upon an audio that you want to save and use for later, what you're going to do is actually click on that audio, and you'll see on the top you can click Save Audio, and that's going to your library for you to access for later. Or you can actually click this button on the bottom that says Use Audio, and it's going to take you straight to your Reels, and you can actually start creating your reel here using the audio that's right there. Okay, and now I'm pointing out the difference between using someone else's audio and creating your own original audio. So as you can see right now, I'm using someone else's audio, but if I were to go back to our own Reels feed, and let's say I click on this one here, as you can see, this one is in our Mindful Marketing audio, which means it's an original audio. And the only real difference between that is that if you create your own audio and it happens to somewhat go viral in a sense, that increases your brand awareness and helps to expand your reach. And the last thing I'll point out about your audio is that if you go here, you can access your library. You click Saved. This is where you're going to find the audio that we just saved. But if you scroll down the audio feed, you'll see that Instagram has categorized these. For instance, original audio, Throwback Thursday, sports, summer feels, etc. Okay, now I'm going to show you a very quick and easy outfit change tutorial using this t-shirt, and in doing so I'm going to point out a couple things about the timer here. So as you can see, I've already chosen my audio, and I know that I want my transition to be at about 2.7 seconds. So what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to set my timer to stop at 2.7 seconds. So as you can see now, I can not only have my timer count down from 3, 2, 1, but now it's going to stop exactly where I want my transition to be. And in my transition, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just take my hands and I'm going to pretend like I'm pulling this shirt off of me. So let's do it for an example. All right, now let's preview it. Okay, so now what you need to do is take the shirt that you were just wearing and place it on your body as much as you possibly can. Make it look like you're wearing it. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull it off of your body for the next transition. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set my timer here, and we're going to count from 3, 2, 1. And as the timer starts, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this off of me, and we're going to trim our clips to make it try to be a very smooth transition. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, let's preview it all together, and then we'll go back and we will trim our clips. And as you can see, that is not a smooth transition, but let's try to just get this as smooth as we possibly can. So what you're going to do is click this button down here on the bottom, trim our clip. I'm going to have this one trim to right about where I'm pulling the shirt off of my body. So maybe right about there. Go into my second clip, trim it from the beginning portion, and I'm going to have it right about as if I am pulling it off of me, so maybe right about there. And let's just And as you can see, that is a much smoother transition. Okay, so now we're gonna add some text to the reel, and in doing so, I wanna point out a few things. So first and foremost, you always want to include closed captioning. Most importantly, because we want to be inclusive. Secondly, you have to take into consideration that majority of video is still listened to without audio. Because think about it, someone might be on a bus or a train and they don't have their headphones with them, and they don't wanna disrespect the people around them by listening to something loud. And also think about someone who might be laying in bed in the middle of the night and scrolling through their feed, and they don't want to disrespect their significant other who's sound asleep. In addition, you have to take into consideration that reels are only available in a certain amount of countries. So that means that if you have your text past that 1x1 frame and someone is scrolling through their feed and they don't have reels in their country, they don't have the ability to click on that reel and expand it to see what the context of that reel is, which means that you are more than likely missing out on that engagement. So I'm going to show you, when you go over to your reel and you add in your text, you'll see here that Instagram actually adds in these little blue lines here on the sides and on the top and the bottom. If you test this out, you'll see that you can't go past, or you can, but you shouldn't go past these blue lines, because if you do, your text will bleed past that 1x1 frame as someone is scrolling through their feed. Okay, there's just a few things that I want to leave you with. The first being that is that you really do only have about 3 seconds to grab someone's attention, so you have to start thinking about the type of content that makes you stop your scroll when you are scrolling through your feed. The next thing I want to say is that you have to just start. You might post something and the first video that you post might not be the greatest thing ever, but that's okay. The only way to get better at something is if you just start and practice, because practice makes progress. And the last thing that I want to say is have fun, because if you aren't having fun, it shows.